Whoa. Today we are in Udawalawe, Sri Lanka, and we're going to be exploring a unique property that has been completely dedicated to jackfruit. And while I tell you more about this property, I'm going to be taking you to explore something else that Udawalawe, Sri Lanka is very popular for, and that is for its elephant community, the problems they're facing, and some possible solutions that might help them. What is up, guys, and welcome back to my channel where we explore the best of Sri Lanka. Let's get into it. Contrary to popular belief among locals, the jackfruit tree isn't a native tree. Now, that might surprise a lot of people, but it was actually introduced to Sri Lanka by a planter named Arthur V. Dyers, who's considered a national hero at this point. And he introduced the plant by bringing seedlings from Johor, Malaysia, because he believed it would be extremely beneficial to the island. And it has been. Especially during World War II, it was instrumental in preventing starvation. And indeed it was, because it produced a fruit that could be consumed at every stage of its growth. In fact, it's almost illegal to cut down a tree without permission. That's how important it is to this community. Today, we are at Waraka, a property that is completely dedicated to this amazing fruit. Now, we can't possibly come to a jackfruit-themed resort and not learn how to make a delicious and, most importantly, the most beloved jackfruit curry in Sri Lanka, the kirikos curry. There is also here on display the various stages in which the jackfruit is used in Sri Lankan cuisine. Starting off with the seed. The seed is roasted and used as a snack and even can be made into a soup. Then we have the baby jackfruit. This one is very popular as a meat substitute and is known as polos. We make a deliciously spicy curry known as a polos curry with this. Then we have the almost ripe kos, which is used for the kirikos curry. This one is still too raw to be eaten straight off the fruit, but it makes a delicious, hearty, creamy curry that every Sri Lankan absolutely loves and you must try. Lastly, we have the stage where it's known as Waraka, as this property is known. This is when the fruit is extremely ripe and it has a very sweet smell emanating from it, and it can be plucked straight off the fruit and eaten, but we recommend dipping it in a little bit of salt and pepper to get that best flavor. Now, let's go in and see what chef is preparing for us. Alright, chef, what's on the menu today?
Today we are going to make classic authentic Sri Lankan menu with white rice, then ever popular jackfruit with kirikos curry, then dry fish curry, then naimiris sambar.
Perfect, my favorite menu. Let's get started. He's not kidding when he called that a very authentic menu, because that is something that Sri Lankans everywhere, whether you're living in the city or you're in the rural villages, that menu is something that is beloved by all, that specific combination. And to make it even better, we're going to be cooking it in this section here, which is like a very traditional kitchen made out of clay. As you can see, the stove is made out of clay and the pots are also clay, which actually adds a ton of flavor to any Sri Lankan dish. Trust me, if you see anything cooked in a clay dish, you can be guaranteed it's going to be delicious. And of course, being cooked on firewood makes it even more delicious. So 1000% authentic Sri Lankan menu coming right up. Oh, look at this, guys. I cannot wait to dig in. This is the most perfect combination. We've got that white rice ready to soak up all the flavors of these delicious curries. We've got the kirikos. Kiri actually means milk, so this is a milky jackfruit curry. The jackfruit is tender and soft, and there are little bits and pieces of the seed in there to give a bit of a firm bite. It's got a medley of different spices in there, so it gives a very unique flavor, and it's paired with the dry fish curry. Dry fish curry is flavorful, it softens the fish, and it's got a very salty flavor from the curing, and that adds an amazing kick to this curry. And of course, we have paired it with papadang for the crunch. And over here, we have kochi sambal, or a naimiris, or a scotch bonnet sambal. Essentially, it's chopped scotch bonnet, onions, and tomatoes, and it's been mashed together with coconut, so it soaks up the flavors of the spice and makes it a little bit more palatable. And we've added, the chef of course was insisting that we tried more and more things. He did give us some fried river fish, so we added that on as well. And of course a cutlet, because who doesn't like cutlets? So cannot wait to dig in, my mouth is watering. Good evening guys, we are off on yet another lovely evening cycle and we are on the Udawalawe Dam. Beautiful sight. It has been rainy the whole day, so we took our opportunity as soon as the sun came out, and now we are going to cycle into the sunset. See you later. How freaking cool is this? I never knew that you could do this, sit by the side of a dam and enjoy a cup of tea and a meal. And there's so many dams all around Sri Lanka that you can sit by and enjoy the view. I know you're by the road, but it's also really nice to look out into this mountain range. I mean, you're looking at the Balangoda mountain range as well as behind it, Horton Plains. I mean, that's a spectacular view. And some things in life, I guess, really are free. Some of the best things in life. Like this, you can just rock up at any of the dams you want, put down a mat and enjoy a cup of tea. Guys, we are going on a safari ride. The weather is a little cloudy and a little drizzly, but hopefully we'll have some good sightings. I think this is the true beauty of Sri Lanka, is that you can have a sighting like this at a national park, such a close encounter with an elephant just by the side of the road. And I think this is very specific to Udawalawe as well, because this is a park that's completely like packed with elephants. It's the park for it. I think something a lot of people aren't aware of when they come to Sri Lanka to see the elephants is that we have a big problem with this human-elephant conflict. And a lot of elephants lose their lives over the years, sometimes 200 elephants a year, simply because of the expansion of cities. Because elephants aren't just secured these areas that are gazetted as national parks, they move around, they always have. There are things called elephant corridors for a reason. These are some of the safe places for them. Although they don't like to stay in these places because they like to move, they're nomadic by nature. It's really nice to know that these are still safe spaces, but we don't know how long sightings like this could probably last in a country like Sri Lanka as well if they're not protected. So I think real action to protect the elephants and take care of them is very much needed, and is something that I think even tourists should be aware of when visiting Sri Lanka, because there's a lot of power in being a tourist, because you're bringing money into the country and what's important to you can be made important to the country as well. Something that adds on to the human-elephant conflict that goes unnoticed is the lack of food within the park. So when there's an invasive species which comes into these areas, these protected areas where the elephants have their food usually, what happens is it overtakes the growth of the actual food that the elephant eats. So usually you think that they can eat anything, but there are certain types of plants that they do eat. And there are a lot of conservation efforts being taken to clean up these specific plants from protected areas like these national parks. And those are really important because it means that there's more food within the park for the elephants to eat, which means that they will spend more time in these protected areas. That should actually help reduce the human-elephant conflict. We have elephants roaming outside of the parks, less looking for food. When it comes to elephants, I think Min area is a great place to see a large volume of elephants, but the Udawalawe National Park is a great place to get up close. As you can see from our encounter so far, we got very close and they aren't really afraid of the vehicles anymore. So if you would like to have that kind of an encounter, this is the park. Unfortunately, we're having a little bit of rain today, so we might have seen a few more things if it wasn't for the rain. And another thing on top of that is the fact that this park is actually amazing for bird lovers. If you love bird watching and you're into bird photography, we saw so many birds right from the get-go as soon as we entered the park. And that's been a lovely experience as well. Of course, you It's not always about the largest or the most glamorous creatures. There are a lot of animals that call these parks home, and they're all interesting in their own right. We decided to brave out the little bit of a drizzle and enjoy the moment here. It has stopped a bit, so it's a good time to get out here and enjoy the view. Fun fact, because of the way Udawalawe is positioned, somewhat in the central region, all around us you can actually see mountains right beyond the water. And I imagine on a very clear day you'd get a fantastic view out here. So this is a very nice experience. Come on in, guys, to our lovely room here at Waraka. We are staying in one of their 4 attic rooms, and they also have 2 suites as well as 6 double rooms. And these rooms are actually perfect if you are a family, because you get this large comfortable bed and you can put the kids up there, and there's 2 little beds up there as well that they can share, and they have their own quarters to mess up while yours stays nice and clean, hopefully. And you've got your own private balcony. What I love about this balcony is that it places you straight in the canopy level, the 2nd story level of a jackfruit tree on each side. So that's a really cool feeling. And also with this room and with the others on each flanking side, you get a straight, stunning view right across the property into the canal area. So I really love the view from this room. It's also very private up here. And there's only a few rooms altogether, and a very intimate property and an intimate feeling. It's great to, if you come with a group, like your entire family, for a family vacation, you're going to take up half this place, so it's kind of like your own private space. If you are a jackfruit lover, this place is absolute heaven. The chef will cook up any one of his many concoctions for you. We've got jackfruit spring rolls, we've got jackfruit seed soup, we've got this very traditional dish that is made out of jackfruit seeds, we've got Waraka sushi, jackfruit mousse, jackfruit crepes, jackfruit seed pole rotis, we've got of course a jackfruit burger, polos, that's young jackfruit soup, as well as jackfruit fritters, Waraka jam, which is so tasty, and of course you can have the ripe fresh Waraka or the ripe jackfruit right here on the property if you ask them. And in my opinion, it's so good. I could just eat a whole half of a fruit by myself. And as nice as some of these desserty sweet concoctions of Waraka is, the original Waraka straight from the fruit is my absolute favorite. So this is something that you must try. If you are a jackfruit lover, you have to come here and you have to try all these dishes. It's amazing. We're at the Elephant Transit Home in Udawalawe, and when it comes to visiting places like this, I'm extremely careful. In fact, I don't like to touch any activities that happen like this because I just don't know if they're doing a good job or not. However, the only reason we came here is because Waraka is sponsoring one of the elephants here, Ami, one of the little elephants that we just saw behind us. And there is a very interesting concept here. They have very strict rules on how they take in an elephant and how they release an elephant. For example, they only keep an elephant here until they are 5 years old, after which they are released into the wild. Every single thing that's done here at the Elephant Transit Home is to ensure that the elephants are ready to move into the wilds. That means there's 0 to no contact between the people that come to watch the feeding hour. They're simply observing from a distance, and there's even very little human contact between the caretakers and the elephants themselves. This is all to ensure that they can focus on their rehabilitation without any distractions and without forming any bonds with people. The other thing here that I was concerned at first, but I later realized with the information provided, was the use of sticks. Now, I was very concerned about it, but the logic is that these are really large animals and they're very strong and they have very wild natural instincts, and of course you want to foster those instincts because they are going to be released into the wild. It's using a little influence to direct them or shepherd them by the human caretakers. However, it's never used aggressively as what I have seen in the little time I spent here. It's just used to direct them, because you do have baby elephants coming straight in and they first go for their milk feed, and they don't want to stop drinking the milk. They love that and they want to continue having it, so they need a little nudge to move on to feeding on their leaves. And here is where the elephants tend to get a little aggressive and they tend to like push their weight around, because that's their natural instinct. But it needs to be done in a way to ensure their safety, so that even the milk is limited, because giving them too much milk actually makes them more dependent on that. They want to encourage and give them enough milk so that they grow and develop, but also they want to encourage them to feed on their own. So that is the purpose of moving them and nudging them away from the milk once they've had their fill. So it's all done very intentionally, and as far as I can see, every step is being taken with the purpose of releasing the elephants back into the wild by the time they're 5 years old. There are only young elephants here. They're all really small. Some of them are just babies, and I think what would have happened to them if they were left to their own devices out in the wild if their parents or their mothers weren't around. So in that sense, I feel like they're doing a really good job here, and I'm really happy that Waraka is sponsoring Ami. I'm happy that I got to see her just a little bit, and I wish all the elephants here all the best, and I hope they're all released into the wild and they integrate into a family out there in the jungles of Udawalawe. There's 5 feeding times in total, but only 3 of them are available to the public to view, and that's 10:30, 2:30 and 6 p.m. So I would advise you to come early and get tickets. The place is quite popular. There's a bit of a line, but you can buy tickets right at the entrance. Kayaking is definitely not the first activity that comes to mind when you think of Udawalawe. It's more along the lines of elephants and national parks and safaris. So this is a very unique experience straight off the bat. And what's really nice is that in the evenings you can see, even in the mornings, a lot of birds coming down onto this canal. And they've even left some structures on the water so that the birds come and land there. So I've been observing from morning, there have been a number of birds. And even on the property, there are quite a few birds that are resting on the trees. My favorite part about kayaking is when you stop kayaking for a second and all you can hear is the noises from around you, which is the rustling of leaves, the birds, and just the water rippling just slightly. It's a very peaceful feeling. It's dinner time. I'm enjoying a lovely glass of wine here with our meal. The food has been great, and there's always a component of jackfruit included in every meal. So today we're enjoying some lovely little jackfruit shreds, also known as jackfruit French fries. That's so good. And I think these are also jackfruit and parmesan mash. So very excited to dig into that combination I've never had before. I really like the concept of including jackfruit into the menu. As a local, we have certain set ways that we like it, and they always hit the mark. But this is a very interesting experience, and I imagine that it will be interesting for anyone who loves jackfruit to dine at Waraka. They've got this gorgeous dining hall, and I love the ambiance, but we're dining out here, and I really like that I can hear the water going by, and there's lots of little birds and creatures that are singing their music into the night. So it's very peaceful and a very close to nature experience out here. We're enjoying a beautiful morning walk through the village, and something I've really enjoyed learning about is this canal that runs by the side of the property, which we went kayaking on. This is all water that is coming from the reservoir, and it looks incredibly clean. And once I inquired about it, I was told that before the homes that live along the canal got their connection to the water from the water board, this is where they use their water from, and that is why it's so clean, because they're very protective of it. Even to date, people still come and take water from the canal, and I really love that, because I'm coming from Colombo, where the canals have lost its purpose. It was initially meant as a transport way, and then afterwards no one needed water from it, so it's become quite unusable. And for me to see such a beautiful clean stream of water running by, it's so nice, and I hope that one day the canals in Colombo can also be this great. And of course, the best part of the walk is that you are engaging with everyone who is going about starting their day. We've met so many of the people who live here, and they're so friendly and they're smiling. Kids are getting ready to go to school, and parents are walking them to the bus stop, and you're just walking along with them. taking in the morning air, and it's just a very pleasant way to start your day.
So we've been wanting to do a video on the elephants of Sri Lanka for the longest time. We've been documenting this for the last 2 years, and it's been very hard for us to accurately bring out the whole story because the human-elephant conflict is such a huge thing experienced all around the island. And everywhere we go, we've been learning bits and pieces about it. But here, yesterday the driver we met, a local who's been in the region for 35 years and he's grown up around the park. He shared some really insightful sort of thoughts with us, and what he said was everyone in this region has developed, in this Udawalawe region has developed because of the national park, the tank and the sugarcane plantations. And everyone understands the value of the Sri Lankan elephant because all these tourists come here to see this elephant. And considering how in many other areas farmers come and are having issues with elephants and they're loading traps and killing these elephants because they are harming their crops, here in Udawalawe it's very interesting to see that they understand the value of the elephant and they are preserving and looking after and not harming it. And likewise, they too are not having issues from the elephants, which was very interesting for us to learn because yes, the elephants do go through their lands, but they just go to the sugarcane. There is no real conflict here where they destroy their homes or destroy their crops. And even if they do, the locals understand it's part and parcel, which is very nice to see because in other parts of the country, what happens is farmers are given lands in areas which are traditionally just jungle for the elephants to roam. Then the farmers' crops get destroyed and they feel they need to do something about it. And so Udawalawe is a really good example of a model that shows that we can live in harmony with the elephants, we can benefit with them being around. And considering Sri Lanka is investing so much into tourism and we're talking about making tourism one of our biggest economic drivers, we really need to look after these animals. And this region seems to have got that message well. And while there are efforts like the transit home which are looking after the orphaned elephants, the locals also understand the importance, and that is such a huge part of it. So very exciting. We're definitely going to do like a proper deep dive into the human-elephant conflict, which we'll do later, but very insightful time for us here in Udawalawe.
As I always say, if you want to dine like a king or feast like a king, just get the Sri Lankan breakfast or the Sri Lankan menu because they just do not know how to give you 2-3 things and draw a line. So we're both having the Sri Lankan breakfast, so we've been able to select dishes and curries that the other is not getting, and we've ended up having a feast, a buffet, and it's a perfect send-off. The food has been on point here at Waraka. And it's not just the Waraka and the jackfruit dishes that are amazing. Everything has been great. So that is definitely a plus point. And the property is one of my favorites because it's so small, but it's also so green and there's water right next to you. And it's a very nice middle ground between having an intimate feeling, but also having that resort-like experience. So it's definitely been unique for me. On top of all of that, it has also been a very insightful stay in Udawalawe for me, especially regarding the elephants and the conservation efforts that are taking place to rehabilitate them, and even learning about things like the invasive species. You know, every journey into this area always teaches me a little bit more about the elephants, what's happening to them, and the solutions and efforts that people are making. And I'm learning as I go, and I'm sharing my experiences with you guys so that we can learn together and we can help with the solutions that come up. So hopefully this has been a fun video for you to watch in terms of learning about jackfruit, but also learning about the elephants and Udawalawe. So with that, I'm going to close off this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!